Welcome back to day 4 of our journey to 2000 ELO on chess.com. Let's just jump on ahead and find an opponent. We're at 1529 ELO today. Let's see if we can win a game today as well. We're playing Seth Matthews, 77 from Brazil, rated 1600. We've got a Sicilian on our hands. So what do we do here and then? Might as well try and play a proper opening this time and not mess up the move order leading on into the Najdorf. We'll be capturing here, moving up, the knight will come up here most likely, and we'll be playing a6, and there we go, a Najdorf. So then, what does our opponent do? There are so many moves here, I genuinely don't know. I just like the position, going for it. The Najdorf is an interesting position. I would definitely love getting time to just read up on it and get proper knowledge as to what to play here. Kind of surprised our opponent here does not know the move after we get on into the Najdorf here, as they did in fact play all the way up leading to this point. Would expect them to have prepared some move, although, well, maybe not. Most common move here has typically been this, after which this or this is, well, those are the two major options there. This to defend the knight with the queen, and this to come up and defend with the knight. We get this, which I think we've seen not too long ago actually. In this position, I think we've got a few alternatives. I don't quite want to play with the e5 structure here because I have not quite gotten a feel for how that's played out. So instead, I think I'd like to just come up here, transpose apparently into a dragon, and go for this kind of a position. Just playing quickly here and trying to make sure the moves are still decent. Our opponent is castled. Most likely we will be looking at castling in, well, hopefully not too long. This, and if this or this is played, we'll be moving the rook on over so we don't have to trade off our fianchettoed bishop. Just trying to keep up what you guys been asking me to look into, namely playing quicker in the opening and probably the middle game as well, but if we do have more time from the opening, it gets a lot easier. So currently we probably want to develop those two pieces here, our remaining minor pieces. Don't quite see an option here along this diagonal here. Can't go here, 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 or here. We could come here to d7, might be an option. More likely, I think, we would grab this b7 square and go for a double fianchetto. We could get out here with this knight, come up here and go like this. And if we go for that kind of a position, I think most likely we would want to go in this order so as to keep this knight here defending c6 once the pawn moves, so there is no knight to c6. Quite happy here to see our opponent is spending a bit of time. Typically speaking, we don't have a time advantage, so this should be quite good. A repositioning of the bishop by our opponent. We could go like this as well, and then allow for this. But then I think this bishop gets difficult to play with, as it would be stuck behind a pawn. However, that might not be all that bad. We could even go here, 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 and come out with the bishop like this, playing a bit slower while also utilizing this file to try and create some attack or offensive. Might be an option. I don't think we'll go for it today though. I would like to push this pawn instead and come up here. Probably both of the moves are quite okay. Although this might allow for this, which could get annoying. I am realizing, but then I guess we could maybe push on further up and cement the structure here. Grabbing some space, although we would lose our control over the b5 square. So maybe just this and not pushing our a pawn if we need a4. Because then this pawn keeps this square occupied, so there is no move down here. Which is typically the reason you want to play a6 in the first place in the Najdorf and in many Sicilian positions, because of the control over this square here. Our opponent still taking a bit of time here. We are still at 15 minutes, but most likely in the next few moves we will be taking a bit longer to kind of figure out a strategy here and not rush things too much. Currently our opponent has got 4 centralized minor pieces. We have got this kind of a structure here, and we should probably look into getting those pieces up as quickly as possible. 2 moves. Might want to move the queen as well to connect our rooks. Maybe here, not quite sure yet. We're not many moves away from being in a good position, I think. We might even be in an okay position now, but I would like to get our last pieces out for sure. I think we can leave those pieces here as is for the time being. What is our opponent looking at? Repositioning the knight. Okay. Might be to play this move though, to try and force our bishop off the board, perhaps, not quite sure. I don't think it matters a whole lot. I don't think it interferes with our plan of coming up here with our bishop. We're just developing here. If this is played, we just take and allow this, and no problems there. Don't mind trading off the d pawn for the e pawn. We might be looking at a way here at some point of moving the knight, maybe capturing something. Let's say a minor piece, a knight was here for example. If we take, then we can take here and break apart the pawns, leaving us with an advantageous structure if we should get into the endgame. So our opponent here, once again thinking, there might be a few annoying moves here. They could just start launching pawns, which I definitely hate playing against. It's difficult to calculate and get a feel for what's best in a position when that's the kind of game you go for. Otherwise, well, this bishop can't do a whole lot, can't come down here. Still, this might be an option. And what else is there? This might be playable, and this could be played. Our queen is defended though, so we don't have to worry about the queen capturing here. This bishop, as I mentioned, this might be an idea, although I don't feel like it's a problem as of now. Importantly here, we are starting to apply pressure to this pawn. This queen move seems to indicate this might be coming. Now I'm kind of curious whether we have this move or not to trade off this bishop. Can't go here because of this, so let's have a quick look at this. The bishop, well, it could go here though. Or could it? Then maybe we would have this move. and the bishop could come back, and we could have this position. But then the pawn could take, and the rook would be opened up instead. Let's just move the rook here instead of this. It might have been good, although I definitely do not want to take any chances. I think there is a helicopter outside. It's been a common occurrence as of late. I'm living right next door to a hospital with a helicopter landing pad on top. This is played. Will not be trading. This looks okay. The bishop comes back. And essentially, in some ways, you could say we got a free move here. Let's bring the knight up. Now we're quite well developed. This could be played, and our opponent could just try keeping on trying to get this bishop. We don't have to hold on to it too hard. We could give it up at some point, but there is no reason to give it up as of yet, I don't think. As well, the configuration here of pieces looks suboptimal for our opponent, for the time being at least, which means at some point we could get some good stuff down here. Well, the rook could move, slide on over one square, and one problem would be solved. So it's not as though this is a super long-term threat. Even this could be played once the knight moves. So we'll have to see what we end up doing in that regard. Currently, neither of those pieces can move because of this pawn, like this. We have two pieces attacking, but this is still an option. Then we would have this, and or well, currently it's not an option because we took away the option of playing it once we went to d7 with this knight, because then we would take like this. Our opponent here down below 8 minutes. This is surprising. I guess we're not always going to be behind in terms of time. It just is. It's not common for us. At least it hasn't been historically. Has not been so historically. If this knight moves, we could get annoying and target this. This is an interesting move. Does it solve any issues for our opponent? They can't quite come here, I don't think. This doesn't work, and this doesn't do a whole lot. So then what does this move accomplish? How about this? If we come up here, we either win the bishop here like this, which honestly looks quite interesting, or we win this pawn or this bishop. We could come here as well and hit the bishop immediately. This bishop, that is. And this bishop can't take us. So I'm looking at this, seems quite interesting. The alternative, as I mentioned, is this, which hits the pawn as well, but if we do hit the bishop, we're kind of adding pressure onto the pawn either way, because we're taking away a defender in some ways. Or so you could argue, I guess, but once we take this bishop, a pawn would replace it, and it would get defended like this. Either way, I think this looks like a decent way of grabbing a bishop here. Oh, wait a second. Currently realized this pawn suddenly got defended by this knight. Blindness is, I guess, rampant in this game, at least from yours truly. Well, we could look at this move, hitting this, and then if the bishop moves, we could jump in here even. just being annoying. Either way, I think this moves does a lot for us, so let's just open up and play this first, so as not to waste too much time. At an opportune moment, I was thinking we could go for this move, but I don't quite love the battery staring down here, which could eventually end up winning the pawn. Would like to get our rooks involved. Haven't quite had the time yet, I don't think, but we'll see in a few moves if we can find the time and place to do so. The bishop comes back. As I mentioned, we have the option of playing this. Then most likely this is played. Problem is, or is it a problem? Let me calculate here quickly. If we, first of all, kick this out, the knight has to come back. Then we capture here. This threatens the queen, so it has to be dealt with. The knight captures, bishop captures, and if this is played, we always have this move as well, I think. Opening up some stuff here and staring down here and grabbing this extra pawn. I think we might have the option of taking here actually, but not yet. We would have to take and play this move first, which is going to open up our king ever so slightly. This, of course, is a move, but this would be played in response, and I don't think this pawn gets all that easy to defend at the end of the line there. So instead, I think this, following this line here, seems a bit better. Or does it? Because if we play this and this is played at the end, our rook would hang. So maybe we'll come up here and play a bit slower in that regard, so as not to waste any material here. Might be calculating a bit too deeply here for this kind of a position as well. Wanted to play this. Can we come here? Then this is played. Could also just come up here rather with the rook, so it's not hanging at the end of some lines, and also so we can come here with this knight and threaten to capture here without having our pawn structure destroyed. I think we'll do this. Definitely an idea. And then we're kind of handing the ball over to our opponent, forcing them to make a move. This could be coming now. Could be an interesting move, but then this is on the agenda. We've prepared the move, and I think it's about time we play it, if given the chance that is. This could be played. The knight could jump in to our position here. Don't think it's a bad move per se, but it would have to be calculated if it's played. We'll kind of kill off this, but if it's played here, I don't quite know if we should take or if we should kick it out and force our opponent to take. Might be an option as well, but then no, this doesn't work then because of our lineup here with the queen and the knight. As per usual, a Sicilian here. It's a complicated position for sure, but currently I feel like we've been navigating the position quite well. We'll have to see how that develops though. If this is played, I think we'd be jumping here. Yeah, because if we take and this is played, this pawn gets defended, so it's not as though we can win this pawn there. So if this is played, I think we go here, which comes with a fork here in some ways. Of course, this could be played and we could have this position where we take this bishop and the queen retakes and we end up with the bishop here. This move here is played, which I was expecting to be played at some point. Interesting to see it being played now. I think we'll be going here as we've been preparing. Our opponent responds quickly, and now I think we'll be coming up like this, and this pawn here is a bit loose. Most likely it's going to be pushed like this, and we will probably see this, after which this might be hanging. So let's try and calculate this line quickly. Here. Do we have any alternative moves or options here? I'm seeing this perhaps, which I guess forces a move by our opponent. This could be played, but then we have enough pieces to capture and be okay, I think. Either way, I think we'll be starting off here by capturing with the rook. This could be played though as an annoying starting move here. But if it's played, I think we might have moves like this. And now we won't in fact have that move because this knight could capture and defend this knight here, so we don't have a scope down here with this cooperation of pieces. This is not a move I expected, although I don't think it's a bad move per se either. Okay, so let's have a quick look here at this position. We could try and kick the knight out here first, and then this pawn here would be hanging. This, the knight can't go here, can't go here, so most likely it would go to f3. Then we take, and we would be up a pawn, I think, threatening to take here as well, so our opponent might take. We can take here, and I think we're quite active in this position. Seems decent. We could get hit with this though, which would be slightly annoying, but we would have to find out how to maneuver this position still. We'll just open up this diagonal here, which could get dangerous for our opponent. Let's start off with this. Curious to see here how our opponent responds. This is a good move. This is a really good move. Do we have this? I don't think we have this because this would trap the rook. Most likely, at least, I think. So we probably have to come back. Don't love it, but can't do a whole lot about it. Can't come here, don't want to come here because it blocks the bishop, so most likely we would be coming back to this square. But then there's this with a skewer, so probably it seems like we have to go to c8 even, all the way back. Can't do a whole lot about it. We could be investigating what happens here though. Then this. Oh, this might get interesting. Let's see. Takes. Wait a second. Takes. Then takes here. Probably forcing this. I don't think this works out. We don't quite get material advantages there. So then I guess we're backing up with our rook. This knight probably coming back here to this square. This is defended still because our rook was first back. Well played to our opponent for finding that idea. So then I think we have the idea here perhaps of bringing our queen up, targeting this knight here. It's definitely something. There is a coordination here, and this is still dangerous. But we could just come up like this as well, which would still hit this, and also X-ray this pawn. If we go here, this might be played to defend the knight, but then we could go here even, forcing the knight to move, and then we will be capturing stuff. We will be capturing stuff there, and I don't think that's bad at all. Now I think we'll be coming up here. Just looking at knight to d5 there in response, but I think we can take, and yeah, the rook would be hanging on a1. So let's take, expecting a pawn push perhaps. We'll have to see what our opponent plays. If this is played, most likely we do still go here. And if takes, we go like this. And the pieces could be falling quite quickly. This pawn still kind of hanging. If this is pushed, we'll have to see what our opponent plays. Oh, they go for this move, defending like this. But do we not have this here? Honestly, I think we might still go for this idea. Forcing the knight out, and then we take this pawn with a threat on the queen. This, where does the knight go? Can't go, well, it could go here, but I don't think that's going to be good. Takes, takes, takes. I think we win material. Or well, this is annoying, but it's not bad. Yeah, let's go for this. Don't see a massive setback here. Well, this pawn is a bit weaker now, but it's still going to be defended by this bishop here for the time being, and we do open up the sequence here by winning material, it seems. The knight does in fact jump in. Most likely we take here. This and this hangs, and this hangs. Most likely we're going to take this pawn first, as it's more forced. This bishop as well is looking like it might want in on the action. Okay, but this looks good, right? We'll be taking here. I don't think we have to respond to this here along this diagonal just yet. At least I don't think so. Would like to come here first, so there is no rook behind this at some point. And if this is played and this is played, and we go here, this could get annoying. So let's start off with this. The pawn on d5 is still hanging, so I don't think that's an issue. There is a lot of tactical stuff going on here. Pieces staring down at each other in all directions. But I think we've got the better end of the stick here. This will be played, most likely. It is. We'll take, and we end up one pawn up here, as long as I have not missed anything. But I think our activity here is better, and this pawn is difficult to defend. Okay, so how do we go about doing this? I think most likely we'll be going here. This knight can't do a whole lot. If we go here, it could come like... It could come to this square, I think. But then what? Most likely we would be going here actually. Preparing this maybe, by means of pushing this pawn afterwards. Or we could come here and immediately capture and win this pawn. But then we might lose the c-file. If we go here, our opponent could go here though, and we could go to this square. I think we could come back actually. Yeah, I think this forces a material win for us, and this would be our response. And this does still win the pawn. No way to defend this. Well, this is creative. Either we come back here and defend our e-pawn, or we could get into an annoying position. I think we'll be defending because the d-pawn is still awkward for our opponent to deal with. And we have the file as well. Could walk our king over to defend this and free our rook up to go where we would want to. This might be played to defend the pawn once again. It is. So where do we go now? This is an option. This could be played. Takes, but this would collapse our position, so I don't think we want that at all. So let's come up with our king instead. This is just a blunder. Because even if this is played and we trade off, we still win this pawn. So let's come up. I think this looks quite optimistic. We've got an option here of taking this pawn or this pawn. I think we'll be taking this pawn actually, simply because this knight here now gets loose through this, and we've got two isolated pawns. This hangs, this hangs. We don't quite have the c-file now though. This could be played and it could be annoying. It's not played. Our opponent resigns. Wow. Unexpected at this point, but I guess they didn't want to play a losing endgame. Thanks for the game. Well played to our opponent today. This brings us up to 1539 ELO. I feel like we're on a roll now, 10 wins in a row, and the first 4 games as well of this journey to 2000. Let's jump on ahead into the game review and have a look here. Feeling quite happy with this Sicilian here, but we'll have to see what Stockfish says. 91.2, that's definitely not bad. 81.6 for our opponent. We had some inaccuracies, we'll be having a look at those, but mostly we had book moves and best moves apparently. I guess we followed a long line with the Najdorf as a start, and well, quite happy to see this, but we did have some inaccuracies, which we will be looking into. This is all normal stuff, no need to analyze up till this point. Our opponent went for this line, and we went here, which was bad. It's apparently a book move, but not the best. What should we go here? I think this might be a move. This might be a move. Most likely this is not the move. Maybe this is a move. Or this. Most likely those are the top candidate moves. If I were to guess, it's either this or this. Let's try and have a look at this. Yeah, the evaluation doesn't change a whole lot, but what is the best move? Yeah, it is e5. c6 here with the knight was good as well. And e6 was also a top candidate move. We got this, all normal stuff. This was apparently bad, I guess. It doesn't quite make sense for our opponent here to move the bishop 2 times like this. Don't quite know what the idea was. I guess probably to defend this pawn. This was bad. Should have not went here. This should have been the move. And let's say our opponent went here, for instance. Oh yeah, this just drops. Never mind. Yeah, this forces the bishop off the board here because this knight is undefended by any other pieces. Didn't see it. Went here. This knight went back. We just kept developing. A slight difference here, but I think this was okay as well. This wasn't the best move. I think I overreacted a bit to this. Apparently just developing is good as well. Went back here, kept our bishop. This move back here, I think, was not all that good. Because, well, our opponent wasted another move and essentially we got a free move and got our last piece into the game. Once again, this was apparently a move. If it was played and the bishop went here. Maybe this, no, that's not the move. Apparently we just leave the knight as is and keep developing. Then I guess I do not understand this as well as I thought. Let's see, we follow the top line here. This is... I don't quite see why this is so good, but apparently this knight here just does a lot. Went here though, our opponent went back, and we kind of shuffled pieces for a second. I thought this move here would be better, so did our opponent apparently, and we went and jumped in here. Kicked the knight, this was an inaccuracy, and here we should have captured. How come? Oh yeah, we just got 2 pieces for a rook. I do not quite see how I missed this. This should have been played. Two knights here, and also we would be staring down at this once the knight moves. Yeah, that's blind by me. Should have taken for sure, but well, it did turn out okay still, just not as good as it could have. This, I kind of forced the issue a bit much there. I guess this was good here, and we would go here. If this is played, takes. I was going to say takes here, but that's not the move either. It gets difficult here, quite complicated, but position is difficult to say the least. I would have played this maybe to put pressure here, but it doesn't get all that easy even still. Already that's a blunder, but I'll not be playing the game out from this position. Was just curious to see why that was good. Should have taken with the bishop. Oh well, that's essentially the same evaluation. 0.03 difference. This was all good. We got a favorable conversion here. All good stuff. Glad we went back. Went up with the king, centralized. Glad to see this was the move as well. This would have been good as well, I guess, but I wouldn't have wanted our opponent here to keep 3 connected pass pawns, while once we take this, we've still got 2 targets. If we take this, pushing this pawn, as you can see, nets us 0 targets. This, and we have 2 targets. We're going to win one more pawn. Now this is still defended like this, I guess. So maybe not that easy, but still the pawns are broken apart. So our opponent has a worse endgame. Our opponent resigned here in this position, and we got the win. So I guess that's about it for our game today. So thanks to, let's have a look, Seth Matthews 77 from Brazil for the game. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your days, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye bye.